All right, this is very exciting. This is my first time doing a Tea for Two on YouTube, and we have the lovely Marguerite Derricks, who I've had the pleasure of knowing and taking from and actually working for, and I'm thrilled for her to be here. So before we bring her in, I'm going to talk a little bit about Broadway Arts Community and who we are. My best friend and I, Alexis Carrick-Gearbase, we both met on the national tour of Fosse in 2001, and we've been best friends ever since, and we've really invested in our relationship. And about 3 years ago, we decided that with the careers we've had, starting as a dancer first and then going into acting and singing and doing roles and doing television, we thought, oh my gosh, we got to keep passing it on, but let's do it together. So we created Broadway Arts Community, and Broadway because Broadway was our dream. The arts because you have to train in all aspects of the arts, and community because it takes a village to do what we do. We really can't do this alone. And that brings us to today and these Tea for Two chats. Why we do these Tea for Two chats is for our community of artists and students who are training with us and colleagues and peers to listen in on another person's journey that maybe they could relate to or maybe they could be inspired by. And my mom passed away in 2013, and she always taught me to listen from the wisdom of others, listen to those who do. And today we have someone who has really done a lot, has taught a lot, and has a lot to share. And I'm excited to dive in her story with you guys. So without further ado, we're going to bring in Marguerite Derricks. Yay! This is when I wish I had the music, Marguerite, where it was like, boom, boom, you know. I'm getting there. Hi, welcome. Welcome to our community and to our family. And I guess what I'd like to start out with is for the audience to understand the context of how we know each other. I can tell you my experience. I'm not quite sure if you're going to remember actually when you first met me, but I remember taking class from you when I was so lucky to come and train at Tremaine and the Performing Arts Center, and I'd watch your teen company that you teach. And I met Jen Hamilton then, and I was a dancer that just looked up to you and your dancers and your strength that I still to this day, I will do, Marguerite, I will do across the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I still do that. I still do that.
It's a fundamental.
It's a fundamental for sure.
So that's how I started with you. And then I ended up moving to LA right out of high school, and I did the Rockettes, but then I got my one of my very first jobs was with you on the MTV Movie Awards.
That's my memories of you is on the MTV Movie Awards.
I mean, yeah, we were
just so fabulous. Mm. You know, I don't remember you as much as a kid in class, but I have such a fond memory of that MTV Movie Awards job together.
We had fun.
Just so beautiful, and your facility and your training. My kind of dancer, like from head to toe.
Awesome. Well, that's an honor.
The work ethic too. You came in as a real pro, and I always appreciate well-trained dancers that have great work ethic. You know, that's all I ask for.
And that's cool, because that's where we like to go from the very beginning, because I want to see that's a part of you. That's a huge part of you. And that had to come from somewhere. So let's take it back. So like Marguerite, little Marguerite, you're maybe 5, you're maybe 4. Where are we? Where were you born?
Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
My mother put me in ballet school probably just turned 5. And Miss Bernadine was my teacher until I was 16 years old. Did only ballet, never took a jazz class, no other style. I was strictly training to be a ballet dancer. Like that's what I wanted as a young girl. I wanted to be a ballet dancer.
What did you see? What did you see that made you want to be a ballet dancer? Do you remember?
Just being put into, the ballet school, and there was a dancer there that was Michelle Lucci, who was like the star of our school, who later on became a principal ballerina with Pennsylvania Ballet for like 30 years, I think. She was extraordinary. So I had Michelle to look up to when I was a young girl dancing. And when she went off and I think she joined the Winnipeg Ballet Company first. She used to bring me all her point shoes because we had the same, shoe size. And so I had her to look up to. So I really like thought I wanted to be a ballerina. And then around 17 or 18, I took my first jazz class. I couldn't turn my leg in. I was like such the toe, turned out ballerina girl. But quickly got into it. And I moved to New York to pursue my career as a ballet dancer. No, that didn't work. I was 5'3.5". I was a really strong dancer, but I didn't have that kind of that ballet body, that look that you ballerinas, like even short girls, like Tyler Peck isn't tall, but the way her body's built, it's for ballet. I was not. So I moved to New York, and I quickly discovered that I wasn't going to really make it in the ballet world. So I decided, I'll do Broadway, because that's what you do in New York. And then I started going to all these auditions, and I was a really strong dancer. So I would always get down to the vocal part of the audition.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I was terrified. I
never had any experience with that.
It was just really, really, I just was horrible. It was horrible. And like for about a year, I was like auditioning, and like I just remember thinking, how is this going to happen? And I went in for Kiss Me Kate, which was an equity summer tour. And they didn't make us sing at the audition. I don't know why. They didn't make us sing. And I ended up getting that job. That was my first professional job, was in Kiss Me Kate. It was a summer equity tour. My good friend Maurice Hines was in the cast. So we got to travel around for the summer and do this equity tour. And I had my equity cards, and I have an equity card. But then I came back
right away.
I came back to New York, and I was like, okay, but that's not going to happen again. I'm not going to go to an audition where they don't make you sing. I'm just not.
Right.
So I started to kind of panic a bit. And one night, my friend Adrian Rosario, who was starring and dancing on Broadway, and I was a fellow Aquarian. He took me under his wing. He thought I was a great dancer. He called me up and he goes, Debbie Allen is looking for a girl for the TV show Fame. She needs one dancer for season 2. You go tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Minskoff Theater. It's a private audition. I went in, there were 80 girls in the room, and I danced for my life, because for me, that I saw Fame, I think a year and a half prior to that, when I was living in Buffalo, and it changed my life. So I was just like, that was for me, it was like, I had to get that job, and I danced for my life. And Debbie, at the end of the audition, she said, okay, guys, we're done. I know who I want. And I remember walking, I lived in Hell's Kitchen, which was not pretty at the time. It was a different Hell's Kitchen back in the 80s. I was walking up to my apartment, and the phone was ringing, and it was Debbie. And she's like, oh, Marguerite, I'm just so sorry to tell you, you got the job. And my God, I hung up the phone. I ran down the street. Maurice and Gregory were doing Sophisticated Ladies on Broadway. I ran to the stage door. I opened the door, and I just started screaming for Maurice, because I wanted to tell him that I got this job, because he was, such a good friend of mine and so supportive. So yeah, that's kind of how it got started. Oh, you're frozen.
I know.
Uh-oh.